So how did you get involved in this property?
I was told by, I wouldn't say a third, probably like a second party, about this girl who had properties on, at the time, Facebook Marketplace. I guess her Facebook Marketplace made it to more social medias, more networks, and more pockets, I guess.
We asked Monica about the ad.
She's advertising squatter homes. Like, she does this for a certain fee, and she'll move you into somebody's property that's not yours, which is about my case.
Are you concerned that now you're in a situation where probably in the foreseeable future you guys are going to have to find another place to live after spending thousands?
Well, I know that's what's going to happen, but God has always got my back. And when you don't do things to people, your blessings will come. So making sure he's blessed back with his home the same way it was left, that's going to make sure that I'm good and make sure God keeps blessing me.
Look, I've done a lot of squatter stories on this particular channel, and each and every time I end up coming across a new one, I think to myself, well, it's not going to be worse than the last one. It's not going to be dumber than the previous tale that I covered on this particular channel, but guess what? I am proven wrong time and time again. What you just heard right there was a woman who is actively squatting in a property admit on television, the local Baltimore affiliate, Project 45 Fox Baltimore, that she is squatting on a property that she ended up discovering on a Facebook Marketplace ad that advertised it expressly as a squatting property. And guess what? The police are still powerless to remove her from said property. This woman is admitting that she is stealing this home on television, and guess what? It's a part of a Facebook social media scam, and they can't do anything about it. She gets to live there. You have to go through the eviction process, or potentially try to buy out this fraudulent tenant out of her wanting to stay there and doing the court battle, because that's the system that we have in democratic cities. Now, we are going to get into this. We're going to break this down, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
So the segment that I open with actually takes place about 3 weeks ago. It was on Fox 45 Project Baltimore. I recommend you watch it in its whole entirety so you can get an idea of how ridiculous it is. But all of this is rooted, of course, in absolutely terrible laws. And of course, those laws make it so that when you have a squatter dispute, that becomes a civil issue, even though they're clearly and obviously admitting to criminal activity.
Baltimore police policy orders officers to stand down when the department receives calls for squatters, even if a lease appears to be falsified. John did provide us a copy of the landlord management company agreement executed between him and the property owner. John's attorney filed a wrongful detainer lawsuit in Baltimore City District Court to get the sheriff's office to assist with removing the occupants from the property. This process could take years.
Now, with that being said, that is just one particular story, one particular tale out of Baltimore and the suburbs that surround Baltimore. It's not the whole story. It's not all of the information. And of course, we have more recent cases of this occurring. And wouldn't you know it, just like in the previous one, you essentially have admissions from the criminal that they are criming, and the police are powerless to stop them. So of course, we have a recent story out of Baltimore in the suburbs. Guy ends up buying a home. He spends 4 months fixing it up. He finds a buyer for said home. However, the buyer ends up driving by the property that he was ready to purchase and notices that there's a moving truck out front, contacts the homeowner, and despite the fact that the police were out there within a day of this person stealing this home, they're powerless to stop it, despite the fact that they are aware of this organized crime scam where you're listing other people's properties as squatter properties on social media. This person doesn't have any recourse. He just has to lose the property because, you know, that's what it is.
The buyer last night drove by and saw a moving truck in the driveway, and they thought maybe it was being unstaged for advertising, and I said no, that was done way earlier. There should be nobody there. So we immediately called the police.
What was your first reaction when you heard that your home was taken over by squatters?
It's just, this is the county. You wouldn't expect something to be happening here like this, and it's really kind of gets you a little freaked out because I don't care where you live in the state of Maryland, you're subject to this happening.
Later that morning,
hey, I'm Gary Collins with Fox 45 News.
We followed the occupant's U-Haul parked in Haskell's driveway to where the property owner was trying to relocate the family of 4. This was Haskell's attempt to prevent the home sale with the contracted buyers from falling through.
Yeah, I got you.
Several minutes later, the occupants agreed to talk to us if we did not show their faces.
So I just want to make something clear to everybody out there in the audience, because this really annoyed me. It really bothered me throughout the course of each and every one of these segments that we covered. And that is the fact that the squatters, the criminals in this particular case, even though it's alleged at this moment in time, all have their faces blurred. They are all being covered up by the local news media. And unfortunately, this was an agreement that Fox 45 Baltimore ended up making with each and every person that they interviewed in order to obscure their identity as a way to get them to talk to them. And the reason why this is incredibly unfortunate is because putting their faces out there, naming and shaming them, is one of the first steps to accelerating the process to getting these people off the property. But instead, in order to get the interview, in order to get the story, in order to get the feedback from these individuals, Fox 45 ended up making this agreement. So unfortunately, I am unable to unmask these individuals at this moment in time. But if I discover any kind of news report that has their name and face, I will, in post-production end up adding that information in, because it is very important for us to not obscure their identity, for us to humiliate these people so that they stop extorting homeowners, because this is an ongoing thing. These people move from property to property doing the exact same thing, and it's just ridiculous that this is allowed. But unfortunately, this is the state of left-wing cities in the United States of America.
We asked when they expected to leave the property they had disputed authority to occupy.
That man is not going to back out when you get in that house. You don't got to worry about that from me and my family. That man is going to get that. He's going to buy the house.
So
next Friday, like you said. But it's just unfortunate. Where do we lie?
I mean, at this point, are you turning over this property?
What else do I have to do? Because what I'm going to go stand in front of the court like, yes.
So is that a yes?
They never said so. Yes, I really did lost my mind.
Huh?
What I'm saying is, and he was trying to help me with this house. I'm not being rebellious to you. I can't move my family in that house. But where do we get compensated at? You know what I mean? Like,
so the property owner right here is in a bit of a fix. The house is already under contract. He's already ready to unload it. He has the buyer ready to go. But unfortunately, a situation like this could easily scare a buyer off, and understandably so, because you have a bunch of criminals that have stolen the home from right underneath you. So in this particular case, the property owner is offering them one of his rental properties to stay in. He'll deal with them later. And of course, they're going with the tale that they were scammed, even though, again, this was listed probably on one of those Facebook marketplace things, and these guys know exactly what they're doing.
After rejecting Haskell's relocation attempt, we followed the occupants back to the occupied home.
for sure I ain't going to jail. I know.
Between a social media user who allegedly leased a home to his occupants for $7,500. Since the document was shown to police, Haskell has few options other than pleading with the occupants for the return of his home.
And of course, this individual is maximizing his victim status, saying, oh, I've lost so much money. I put so much money into the deposit and whatnot. And it's just so unfortunate for me that I'm the victim of this situation. Please pay me out. Again, roll the Anna, give me the money clip.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
But of course, make no mistake about it, this is in fact a scam. It is a common scam, and these people go into this situation understanding exactly what they're doing.
I gotta get compensated. No, because I'm trying to tell you. No, it would be nice if I could get compensated something, like a hotel, something, money. It's like, I really don't say nothing. I'm not buying.
Be out of here by Wednesday. What can I throw you back?
The entitlement from these people is absolutely insane. He's like, where do we get compensated at? Again, you're stealing a home. You were caught stealing a home. The police, unfortunately, are saying it's a civil matter, so it's completely on the homeowner. He's moving you into an alternate property so you can be that problem just somewhere else so the home sale can go through. And you're still like, oh, I'm such a good person. I'd never steal this home that I was caught actively stealing because I'm taking advantage of these squatter laws, but where do we get compensated at? Where am my family gonna get paid for this? I mean, it's just ridiculous that I'm in this situation because I tried to commit a crime, which is true, by the way. It is ridiculous that you're in a situation where you're being gifted a rental property to squat it instead of the property that you're trying to steal because you are committing a crime, but not for the reasons that you're talking about, which is you haven't been paid yet.
Between a social media user who allegedly leased a home to his occupants for $7,500.
So look, the law is written in such a way that the police cannot actually act in this particular scenario. But the idea that this man right here paid $7,500 to rent this property is insane. This is clearly a fake document. This is not true. This is false. But of course, it lends credence to his case enough to make this a civil matter because the police are not allowed to intercede, remember, according to that law, even if they think the documents are fraudulent. Even if they know that they're fake, they can't make an arrest here. And this guy knows it. He's like, I know my rights, man. I ain't getting arrested for this particular situation. I paid $7,500 for this property, and I just need to be compensated and whatnot. And you could see he completely changed his position to the point where his back is to the property. And of course, right here, you have the homeowner who doesn't want to be identified as well to your left. And this is just what we're left with in this particular case. An anonymous guy who's allowed to be anonymous by the police and by the local media because the police haven't arrested him, so we don't have a mugshot. And of course, the local media is obscuring him to get him to talk to them. Is just allowed to get away with this scam, run it again at another location, and somebody else is going to be victimized by this individual who, again, I mean, you just got to think about him and his family, even though he's depriving another man of his property and his livelihood.
If I could get compensated something, like a hotel, something, money, it's like, I really don't say it. I'm not lying.
So he's like, it would be nice if I could get compensated, some money or a motel or something. By the way, I would pay for the motel if I was him. And knowing that this is a years-long court battle, definitely worth it to pay a night or two for a motel for this individual to get the hell up out of your property. But I also want to point out that this guy's like, oh man, like, what am I to do? It's woe is me. I'm the biggest victim right here, when he's actively stealing a property, and we're watching an on-camera extortion of the property owner. And by the way, at one point in time, and I think he cut himself off while he was doing it, he was about to play the race card. He mentioned the word black randomly in the midst of all this, which is just absurd. And then he tells the local news person, oh, I'm gonna call you back. I'll talk to you later, buddy. We're just gonna discuss this conversation at another moment in time. And again, I just wish we could see this man's face. I wish we could see the girl's face from earlier on, because these are obvious scams. These people know their rights going into this situation. They're claiming that they spent all sorts of money in order to maximize their victim status, and this is what homeowners in Baltimore City have to deal with.
We call that cash for cheese.
Could we call you a little later?
Call me later.
Please, I'm gonna shoot you a text first. Please. This is the first meal I had since yesterday, and it's Burger King. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, we're on the same team. Can we please come?
Absolutely.
And it won't be like 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, call me anytime. So here's our plan today. And when you say later, it's fine.
No, later today. I'm later on.
No, listen. What I'm saying is I'm going to tell Muhammad, the buyer, that we're talking about what you can be out.
Yeah.
And I'll tell him that our plan is by Wednesday, so he can do his walkthrough.
Yeah, and I'll clean.
And then he can move forward with stuff.
I mean, come on, guys. He's actually doing the innocent Beba Angel Aladdin thing where he's like, oh, I haven't had the meal in so long. Oh, it's Burger King, man. My life is so sad. And then as a homeowner who knows he's being scammed, he knows he's being defrauded by this guy, he has to pretend like this is a normal, rational conversation. He has to pretend like this is sensible and that, oh, well, yeah, man, we'll just work it out. Muhammad's gonna pay you and whatnot. No big deal. We'll just talk it out, buddy. Love you so hard.
Meanwhile, we asked the occupants if the social media user identified matched the person that signed their lease.
Is this her?
And then I wake up.
And real quick, is this her?
Yes.
Okay.
The identified social media account user posted on an account promoting squatter or last resort homes, reels of her spending a weekend laser tagging, go-karting, and attending parties.
So again, like before, we have a social media user that's posting herself at laser tag, having a good time, that's promoting these squatter homes. And make no mistake about it, even if this social media user ended up taking money for knowing where these listings are, the fact is these people understood that they were taking squatter properties. These are called last resort squatter properties in the advertisements. Therefore, they understand that they are a party to this scheme. And again, this is the story from a couple of days ago, but there was another case yesterday.
Just 2 hours before Haskell's call to police for a burglary last Thursday night, Baltimore County Police were responding to a similar incident in East Baltimore County in Middle River.
11:30, 11:31. Call for a suspicious person. Avenue. The caller said people who live at this location moved in early in the week and now are banging on the door.
And the police report for a suspicious person in Middle River received late Monday night by Spotlight on Maryland. A property management worker told police he had noticed shavings on the ground by the front door, that the property's lockbox was missing, and the locks had been changed. The report says officers observed signs of forced entry to the basement door of the property, writing the door frame had been split. As officers were clearing the Middle River house, they found a woman upstairs with 2 young kids. Her partner said they had signed a lease and made a one-time $1,500 payment in cash to rent the property.
So technically this case, even though it's reported after by Fox 45, was actually a case that ended up being called in 2 hours prior to the incident that we covered previous. And in this particular case, it's obvious. I mean, come on. The police end up showing up due to a suspicious person report. You have a door being split, obvious signs of forced entry. You have the lockbox being broken into and missing. You have the locks changed. All these different various indications that these criminals had just broken into the property. But of course, what do you think the result was after they said that they paid $1,500 in order to rent this place?
The man showed officers this document titled Squatter's Lease Agreement Addendum. The police report says a male occupant told officers he was instructed the homeowner would eventually show up and work something out with him. The report adds the occupant knew that the agreement was fraudulent and that he knew that what he was doing was wrong. The police report says officers then left the scene, deeming the incident a civil matter.
Yeah, of course, there was no arrest because this becomes a civil matter, even though the document that was presented was a squatter's addendum. It wasn't even a fraudulent lease. The guy pointed out that his right to stay there was fraudulent. This is the suspect in this particular case, and he knew what he was doing was wrong. But the police, even though they have signs of a burglary, even though they have a squatter's rights paper, not an actual lease, even though the guy admits that he has a fraudulent agreement and his intention is to get the homeowner to show up and work something out with him, so it's an extortion scheme, made no arrests. Nobody was arrested, and they're admitting to the crimes. The squatters are admitting that they're doing fraudulent stuff, and guess what? In this particular case, no arrests. It doesn't matter. In Baltimore, you have a god-tier right to steal people's property. And again, I often joke about how you break into a property and you steal something out of it. That's a felony burglary. But if you break into a property and you steal the property, guess what? That's a case of a civil matter, and you need to go to housing court, eviction court, and you're going to enjoy that property for 2+ years and probably be able to extort the property manager or the owner for a huge sum of money.
These folks are not tenants.
State Delegate Ryan Naraki represents Middle River, where one of the alleged squatter homes is located. He says he's stunned that this incident hits close to home after learning about the West Baltimore County house just yesterday.
We're not talking about someone that's doing this one time. We have people that are doing this time and time again, and we know who they are. It's no different than any other kind of organized criminal network that we would normally hold very seriously accountable. We should do the same here like we would, a drug network or any sort of mafia-like network. That's what this is here.
Look, obviously the solution here is to change the law. That's what you have to do. The law enables this behavior. It needs to be changed. It's completely outdated. They're taking advantage of it. And by the way, the person who's listing all these properties, who's gathering all this information, needs to be charged with organized crime charges, felonies, long prison sentences, have them squat in a cell for the next 20 years, and that will send a message to all these different various people that they can't get away with this. But do I have faith that Baltimore is going to do this? Do I have faith that the state of Maryland is going to do this? Absolutely not. But again, this is where we are in this country, and I want to know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about an obvious scam going on across Baltimore, across Maryland. Till next time.